Manners and Customs in India. Appeal Avalanche, January 21, 1894. Swami Vivekananda, the Hindu monk, delivered a lecture at La Salette Academy, Memphis, yesterday afternoon. Owing to the pouring rain, a very small audience was present. The subject discussed was Manners and Customs in India. Vivekananda is advancing theories of religious thought which find ready lodgment in the minds of some of the most advanced thinkers of this as well as the other cities of America. His theory is fatal to the orthodox belief, as taught by the Christian teachers. It has been the supreme effort of Christian America to enlighten the beclouded minds of heathen India. But it seems that the oriental splendor of Kananda's religion has eclipsed the beauty of the old time Christianity, as taught by our parents, and will find a rich field in which to thrive in the minds of some of the better educated of America. This is a day of fads, and Kannanda seems to be filling a long felt want. He is perhaps one of the most learned men of his country and possesses a wonderful amount of personal magnetism, and his hearers are charmed by his eloquence. While he is liberal in his views, he sees very little to admire in the Orthodox Christianity. Kananda has received more marked attention in Memphis than almost any lecturer or minister that has ever visited the city. If a missionary to India was as cordially received as the Hindu monk is here, the work of spreading the gospel of Christ in heathen lands would be well advanced. His lecture yesterday afternoon was an interesting one from a historic point of view. He is thoroughly familiar with the history and traditions of his native country, from very ancient history up to the present, and can describe the various places and objects of interest there with grace and ease. During his lecture, he was frequently interrupted by questions propounded by the ladies in the audience, and he answered all queries without the least hesitancy, except when one of the ladies asked a question with the purpose of drawing him out into a religious discussion. He refused to be led from the original subject of his discourse and informed the interrogator that at another time he would give his views on the transmigration of the soul, etc. In the course of his remarks, he said that his grandfather was married when he was 3 years old and his father married at 18, but he had never married at all. A monk is not forbidden to marry, but if he takes a wife, she becomes a monk with the same powers and privileges and occupies the same social position as her husband. In answer to a question, he said there were no divorces in India for any cause, but if after 14 years of married life there were no children in the family, the husband was allowed to marry another with the wife's consent, but if she objected, he could not marry again. His description of the ancient mausoleums and temples were beautiful beyond comparison, and goes to show that the ancients possessed scientific knowledge far superior to the most expert artisans of the present day. Swami Vivekananda will appear at the YMHA Hall tonight for the last time in this city. He is under contract with the Slayton Lyceum Bureau of Chicago to fill a 3 years engagement in this country. He will leave tomorrow for Chicago, where he has an engagement for the night of the 25th. Detroit Tribune, February 15, 1894. Last evening, a good sized audience had the privilege of seeing and listening to the famous Hindu monk of the Brahmo Samaj, Swami Vivekananda, as he lectured at the Unitarian Church under the auspices of the Unity Club. He appeared in native costume and made with his handsome face and stalwart figure a distinguished appearance. His eloquence held the audience in rapt attention and brought out applause at frequent intervals. He spoke of the manners and customs of India and presented the subject in the most perfect English. He said they did not call their country India nor themselves Hindus. Hindustan was the name of the country and they were Brahmins. In ancient times they spoke Sanskrit. In that language, the reason and meaning of a word was explained and made quite evident, but now that is all gone. Jupiter in Sanskrit meant Father in heaven. All the languages of northern India were now practically the same, but if he should go into the southern part of that country, he could not converse with the people. In the words father, mother, sister, brother, etc., the Sanskrit gave very similar pronunciations. This and other facts lead him to think we all come from the common stock, Aryans. Nearly all branches of this race have lost their identity. There were 4 castes: the priests, the landlords and military people, the tradespeople, and the artisans, laborers, and servants. In the first 3 castes, the boys at the ages of 10, 11, and 13 respectively are placed in the hands of professors of universities and remain with them until 30, 25, and 20 years old, respectively. In ancient times, both boys and girls were instructed, but now only the boys are favored. An effort, however, is being made to rectify the long existing wrong. A good share of the philosophy and laws of the land is the work of women during the ancient times, before barbarians started to rule the land. In the eyes of the Hindu, the woman now has her rights. She holds her own and has the law on her side. When the student returns from college, he is allowed to marry and have a household. Husband and wife must bear the work and both have their rights. In the military caste, the daughters oftentimes can choose their husbands, but in all other cases, all arrangements are made by the parents. There is a constant effort now being made to remedy infant marriage. The marriage ceremony is very beautiful. Each touches the heart of the other, and they swear before God and the assemblage that they will prove faithful to each other. No man can be a priest until he marries. When a man attends public worship, he is always attended by his wife. In his worship, the Hindu performs five ceremonies: worship of his God, of his forefathers, of the poor, of the dumb animals, and of learning. As long as a Hindu has anything in the house, a guest must never want. When he is satisfied, then the children, then father and mother partake. They are the poorest nation in the world, yet, except in times of famine, no one dies of hunger. Civilization is a great work, but in comparison, the statement is made that in England, 1 in every 400 is a drunkard, while in India, the proportion is 1 to every million. A description was given of the ceremony of burning the dead. No publicity is made except in the case of some great nobleman. After a 15 days fast, gifts are given by the relatives in behalf of the forefathers to the poor or for the formation of some institution. On moral matters, they stand head and shoulders above all other nations.